Human diversity is presented through 4 hypothetical personal profiles to get closer to understanding how people are different and what drives them. The 4 profiles are the hunter, the scientist, the conqueror, and the nurse. The iceberg is a good image of what drivers are visible and not visible. What is usually visible and talked about in an organization is what is above the water surface. What are not usually seen nor talked about lies below the surface. The drivers below mean so much more. Above the water surface are the hardcore elements such as objectives, strategies, activities, tasks, results, and salary. Below the surface are the softer elements, such as values, thoughts, intentions, and emotions. What is below the water surface is much more complicated than what is above, and that is probably also why managers tend to communicate about drivers above the water surface. When looking at the earlier statement regarding the clear purpose and seeing progress, this is more above than under the surface of the water, where the inner work-life balance is usually below the surface of the water. This is where scientists claim that the manager cannot see exactly what is below the surface. Nevertheless, it is crucial for performance that the manager understands. The inner work-life balance is not the same for every employee, and since it is hidden, it is where it is mostly needed for the manager to focus on. Celebration, recognition, and appreciation, feedback and praise must be much more targeted under the surface of the water than over the surface of the water in order to gain the most benefit. Skilled psychologists have for decades been working intensely with human motivation and preferences, and various types of personal profiles have been developed. The profiles can give us an understanding of what preferences we ourselves have, what others have, and what can support us and stand in our way in relationships with others. They give us the opportunity to reflect on how we can get the most out of every contact with another person. It can also give us an understanding of what is needed for a specific personal profile to become motivated and what he or she wants to be celebrated for. Across the various personal profiles which different psychologists have developed, there are characteristics which are similar. Personal profiles as DISC, MBTI, and 5B are some of the better known. They are not about intelligence, but on preferences in relation to other people and in the way we approach a task. Below is an attempt to create an overview across different profiles. The purpose is neither to challenge the various theories nor to create a new theory. The aim is simply to describe various characteristics which the reader can relate to. The mix of characteristics which each person has is nevertheless quite unique, and that is the important part to know when we're giving recognition and appreciation. We can do our best to make a qualified guess on what motivates the individual, and then celebrate according to. Guessing, though, becomes a little bit easier for most of us if we have some boxes to relate to. The easiest thing to do is to ask the employees directly. For instance, what motivates you? What have you been recognized and appreciated for that really made you happy? What elements would you prefer to be recognized and appreciated for that will really make sense to you? If you should be recognized and appreciated, how would you prefer that to happen? Nevertheless, to label some characteristics which are more commonly linked than others, it is helpful with an overview. The overview can give an indication of which personal profile wants to be met with, for instance, recognition and appreciation in which way. However, as stated earlier, it is not the answer to everything. What the overview can provide, though, is an attention to the fact that there are differences. The 4 hypothetical profiles are not an attempt to label them in relation to job categories, but are simply an attempt to visualize and to make it easier to distinguish characteristics from one another. Nor is there an image that is better than another. All have a front and a seamy side, and the assessment of what is the front and what is the seamy side is interpreted by ourselves and each of the persons we have a relation to. We judge all others on their behavior and ourselves on our intention. There is therefore no single correct way to behave and not a real intention. A person can have one or multiple of the images as its preference, and generally speaking, all people have all of the images in their personal profile, just at a larger or smaller extent. This means that we generally have the ability to use all nodes, and that it is simple a matter of curiosity, interest, desire, and training discipline. The following description is not an in-depth analysis, but merely inspiration. Their in-depth personal profiles far more accurate in describing preferences. The hunter. The person plays to win, creates fast results, and goes for the gold. The person can often be perceived as very charming when it is the road to success, and may be perceived as sharp in tone if there is something standing in the way. There's often a fast pace, and therefore fast decisions are important. Emotions are perceived as interfering with common sense, and this person would like to relate to others who support him or her in becoming a success. Losing is the worst thing that can happen. The scientist. This person works structured and systematically and uses his or her senses to find details in the systems that already exist, in order to find new creative ways of doing the work. This person is perceived by others as introvert and slow and with a large center of useless knowledge. This person needs time to make things right and follows his or her plan to reach the result. Decisions are taken in sequential order and will be taken on the basis of facts and knowledge. To make mistakes due to lack of analysis is the worst thing that can happen. The conqueror. This person's aim is to heal the world on a larger or smaller scale, and is often a compelling speaker with talent for colorful words. This person is thriving when having influence, thriving when working in groups, and often needs new challenges. Other people tend to perceive this person as overly optimistic, starting tons of things and rarely finishing anything. They often have a large network and take decisions intuitively. That others do not like this person is the worst thing that can happen. The nurse. This person has a great need for community and presence and thrives in one-to-one relationships. This person prefers predictability in their daily life and opportunities to explore the pre-established structures and systems, and wants to work with tasks in order to complete them. This person is perceived by others as introvert and emotional. This person also needs peace in their relationship with others and seeks comfortable relationships and in an environment which is not encumbered by continuous change. Conflicts are the worst thing that can happen. A person can, as earlier stated, have one or more dimensions in his or her personal profile and with a stronger or weaker expression. Composition of preferences in a person is hard to guess but must be examined. It can be examined by following this person's patterns, how they act on different input from others, and through questions, and by actively listening to the answers. People cannot be seen as stereotypes. Still, it gives us yet another opportunity to be even more qualified when supporting and challenging each other. When we have an idea of what motivates another person, we can recognize and appreciate that person in a more targeted and focused way. If we do it in a proper way, it can normally be seen through a more motivated effort and hopefully even better results in the end. You will now get inspiration to what various personal profiles are liable to want in order to be recognized and appreciated. The hunter. Recognition of the results that the person has created him or herself. Success. The person would like to receive recognition and appreciation for his or her achievements and quick results. It can very well be connected to status, for instance to win a prize, get higher wages, become a member of the winner club, be at the top of the victory podium or the sales list. The celebration may sound like this. Congratulations on your excellent result. You have reached 10% above target, which you are the only one who has managed. The key has been your courage and your belief that you would succeed, especially when you have not taken a no for an answer. You have seen the opportunities right in front of you and you have efficiently and quickly taken them. The scientist. Recognition of matters, quality in delivery. This person is not ready to get recognition and appreciation until the work has been delivered without errors and when all the details are in place. Recognition expressed in public and loud is not appreciated, mainly due to the fact that there could be some parts of the delivery that are still found not to be in order. Only when there is 100% certainty that the solution works, then there is a basis for recognition and appreciation. A recognition and appreciation based on a part delivery, however, will be received positive. For instance, your delivery of the first prototype looks really promising, and your diligence in noting all the technical details seemed to be fruitful. It looks promising for our future production. The conqueror. Recognition of the person, development of the group. This person would like to have public recognition for their ability to see the bigger picture and what the future might bring, and also for creative ideas that will bring the team forward. Being invited to obtain influence on the strategy might be a part of the recognition and appreciation. Exuberant praise in someone else's presence is also positive, but it is usually forwarded to others. Recognition and appreciation may sound like this. You and your contribution are the reasons why our colleagues from other departments have finally noticed our department and how we stand together as a team and are progressing in a whole new way. Your positive approach in the project meetings got others to believe in our project. The nurse. Recognition for people and systems to do the right thing. This person is usually not fond of public recognition. Instead, it is enough with a pat on the back and a well done. The person would like to receive recognition for who he or she is, how important he or she is for other people, for empathy, and for the ability to complete tasks given. Recognition and appreciation may sound like this. I would like to let you know how important you have been to Beatrice to have a really good start in working in this company. It really meant something for both her and me. You gave her an overview of the task and showed her the systems you use. She had such a good start, and that meant a great deal for all of us. In order to do a good job in meeting the employees' needs for recognition and appreciation, it is important to understand oneself and others, and the way we ourselves and others would like to be recognized and appreciated. The researchers' findings that recognition means so much shows that we all, in one way or the other, are driven by the feeling that we are special. Therefore, it is important for a manager to be able to do it right and also to see when the recognition and appreciation is not spot on. Since recognition is a gift and meant to serve as such, it can be really difficult, and to many people it could even be impossible to refuse the gift. This is also regardless of the fact that the recognition is delivered in an inappropriate way for that person. Maybe the person is kindly saying thank you, or maybe there's just a shrug of the shoulders and the manager is wondering why the response is not as expected. The sincere reception of recognition that is spot on is visible. If the response is not as expected, it is worth asking questions like, do I recognize and appreciate others in the same way as I prefer to be met? Are there personal frustrations in relation to this person that makes it hard for me to give him or her recognition and appreciation as deserved? Is this frustration causing that he or she does not believe that I meant it seriously? It may be worthwhile to figure out how the persons around you respond when the recognition is spot on and get to know what triggers. Then it becomes easier to recognize, appreciate, and celebrate the employees spot on every time. It requires confidence. Confidence is a crucial starting point in order to be able to give and receive recognition. If the employee does not trust his or her manager, the recognition can sound hollow, and the employee can get the feeling that the manager is not honest. Perhaps the employee expects a but from the manager, and then a lot of things which the manager is not satisfied with, and which is more important for the manager to say. Do your employees have confidence in you? If you're in doubt, ask your employees how they perceive you as a manager, and if your employees perceive themselves as being special. Recognition and appreciation to the person I do not like. It can be a dilemma to recognize and appreciate a person who is basically so much different than you. It is easy to just let it be, but that is not the best position to take as a manager. Acknowledging that diversity is a gift is easier when we focus on facts. As long as we stick to facts, we have the ability to keep our own feelings aside and objectively relate to performance and results. Our own perceptions, which blurs the image of the person, does not add value. It is mostly difficult when our own basic values and the values of the person we want to recognize are far from each other and where we are not similarly driven. What is logic to one person might not be logic to another. The easiest thing to do is to judge the person and to be the author of an indictment which can justify the fact that we do not like the person. If we can simultaneously discuss this person with another, for instance a colleague from the management group, then we can easily convince ourselves that we do not need to recognize, since this person does not deserve it. In this way we can start inappropriate storytelling, which can be strengthened with more storytelling when he or she fails. If the manager wants to develop his or her employees, then the manager must objectively identify the areas in which the employee is doing well, which the employee should continue to do and preferably do more of. At the same time, the manager must also acknowledge the areas that the employee is developing, even if it is very small steps in the eyes of the manager. Once again, it makes sense to connect recognition and appreciation with development. When the manager knows the next step in the employee's development, the manager can support with recognition targeted for this next step. The manager's recognition will then naturally vary depending on how far the employee has come in his or her development. It is the same principle as when we had to learn how to write in school. Recognition changed as we became more capable. First letters, then words and phrases, then essays, etc. If the manager experiences that development is too slow compared to the manager's temperament, it may be that the ambitions need to be lowered, unless of course the employee is not the right match for the team. If the employee is the right match, then the manager must match his or her requirements to what is possible for the employee compared to his or her development potential. This does of course not mean that the manager should not test whether the employee is ready for more. If the employee is ready for more, then the speed of development can increase. Can I make everyone happy? It would be nice if it was that easy, but it's not. It requires the ability to communicate effectively to people who are different than you. There will always be decisions taken which do not fit with what one or the other is driven by. For instance, I do not agree with this decision because we cannot see results immediately. I do not agree with this decision because consequences are not thought thoroughly through. I do not agree with this decision because we are not thinking of the larger perspective. I do not agree with the decision because I cannot see the whole process from start to finish. Objections are usually signs of either interest or frustration. The manager must listen to what is behind the employee's objections. What is it really all about, and what will it take for the employee to get clarity and for him or her not to be frustrated anymore? It is very difficult to ensure clarity by email. It requires that the manager listens with both ears and eyes. The eyes should be used to listen to everything that is not said, but is visible in the body language. Frustration is often interpreted as resistance, but it is usually not. The vast majority of employees want to do a good job, and they strive daily to be successful in what they're working with in loyalty to their workplace. When changes happen, there is usually something everyone has to say goodbye to, and that can make people insecure and uncomfortable until the change is understood and working well. The one-dimensional manager bases every decision in his or her own profile and chooses to use the highly hated phrase, "This is my managerial right to decide." Rewritten into the language of parenthood, it becomes, "This is how it is because I say so." Once we reach our teens, this phrase just doesn't work anymore. For most people, it will be received with contempt, frustration, or resignation. The multidimensional manager can balance decisions meeting both their own and the employee's drivers. The manager is responsible for the team's direction and at the same time responsible for understanding and helping the employee to move forward in his or her development while understanding the person's drivers and utilizing their talent best as possible. Here are the previous disagreements from employees and now with examples of subsequent questions. I do not agree with the decision because we cannot see results immediately. What type of result would you like to see? How can we follow the results? Given that we can see and track the results, how does this decision look like now? I do not agree with the decision because consequences are not thought thoroughly through. What are the consequences that are most important to focus on? Given that we face the consequences and that I take responsibility for them, how does the decision look like now? I do not agree with the decision because we are not thinking of the larger perspective. Which perspective do you see this decision being a part of? How can we continue to focus on a wider context with this decision incorporated? How does the decision look like now? I do not agree with the decision because I cannot see the whole process from start to finish. What do you need to think the process through? Given that you have thought the whole process from start to finish, how will the decision look like then? Enter the leadership path Lead and Manage Yourself to learn more about what the different profiles prefer to do in which situations.